Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Everag Insights, and we're back with another weekly update. We've got a few things to talk about today, Steve. Outlook, GDT, and of course, Chart of the Week.
So let's rip into our Outlook overview. We don't really want to dig into the full detail of this, as we never do. Just looking at some of the major moving parts that are there. These aren't all the things affecting supply and demand across the. Just want to call out a couple of things. We don't want to go through everything here, but what's shaping, and we'll see some things in the result that GDT that might be interesting. Is Oceania weather having a bit of a kick along in New Zealand?
Yeah.
More growth. Certainly North Island is lush and irrigation improving the South Island, so we're going to see a bit more milk and a bit more product. It's just a case of how long that lasts, because it is very warm across most of New Zealand now, and whether that dries out quickly, if that stays there.
It can swing quickly, can't it?
It can. You can have a few days and they call it a drought. And I think in Europe, while we're seeing a little bit of recovery in some regions, it's that spring period which is all critical. While we are seeing seasonal lift in production when we get through to spring. There's some, in some regions, high comparables to beat. That's going to be a big factor. The Red Sea shipping ban, and linked to obviously how long that conflict goes down there, is impacting trade. Did impact this GDT result. That's something we're going to talk to. And you're going to call out something about the US, Joe, this interesting little dynamic we've got there with product mix. Just had a products report, so that's a little hint as to what's coming. Into GDT?
Yes, please. Pretty good result. Very positive, particularly for butter, but good result for skim, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah, pretty positive across the board there, Steve.
So it puts suddenly New Zealand is the most expensive for cheese, butter and skim, which is a bit of a flip from where we've been recently, and just how that then plays out later, because that's been a big advantage for New Zealand in being able to gain some share. So let's see where that goes from here.
Strong demand. I know you love these demand charts, Steve.
Yeah, it's the other ones I like better than these. So strong demand. I just want to call out butter it's all relative, because we're seeing reduced butter volumes on GDT. They've been halved to what they were last year.
Yes.
It's a conscious effort to stabilise that market. But good whole milk, and obviously skim was steady. When you see that butter result, it's correlative to the fact that there's less available.
Sure. Here we go.
Yeah, this is the one you love. So skim milk powder, I'm only going to use, I promise this is the only one of these type that I use. And just to show that it was a good start, I mean, it's a strong start and it extended. So
yes.
We've looked at our usual grid. I won't put that up, but, this fell into a higher than usual based on the start of the result compared to where it scatters.
And it held on for a lot of rounds, so very positive for skim there.
And a little bit of backgrounding where we are with volumes on offer. And this butter thing I discussed, it's very, much lower expected full year or full season butter offer. Trade is about flat year to date.
But that availability is, as you can see there, well down.
Yeah.
Showing there, Steve. Skim a little bit different.
Yeah, trade has been a little bit better. It'll be interesting to what that's doing in product mix decisions going forward. Whole milk about where they expected.
Yeah, very close.
Now, Fonterra is not the only exporter, so this is all of New Zealand trade versus what's being used on the platform, and they have moved, off the platform for fats. So there's some things in the background of this that.
But just interesting nonetheless. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, the regional performance. So China still not showing up for whole milk powder there, Steve?
No, a little bit of an increase in percentage. They bought slightly more, but compared
to previous years, not so much. It was really the Middle East again.
They took away an important volume. Again, that's, we've said they are opportunistic buyers. When low prices are there, they'll be there. But this is extending.
Yeah.
That's showing a bit of good, strong economy, I guess. China did not bought a little bit less skim milk powder than we saw at last event, so they're still bouncing around pretty low compared to the past, and that's seen in general trade. Southeast Asia also didn't turn up for skim milk powder, but demand was good. So we've got other smaller regions that stood up.
Yes.
So it leaves us in, this chart looks quite different to what it did just last week with that GDT result now in the pack there with other regions. But the futures, the NZX futures, still expecting more, calling for more of the same.
And also the EX futures kind of catching up with where the New Zealand, Singapore futures are. So interesting that the futures market is still expecting some increases. And certainly for NZX, SGX futures, that's been the case for weeks, hasn't it, Steve?
Yep.
Look at that turnaround.
Yeah, this difficulty facing European exporters, the ALA prices actually fell, which was a solid gain for New Zealand medium heat in the C2 contract at least, and that's flipped it around to, from what we're talking about, this little discount for Oceania product. Now we're in a
premium situation. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that might be. Cheddar, very expensive out of New Zealand now compared to the US.
Yeah, and the US market is staging a small recovery. It is on a trajectory. These are NDPSR prices, so they take a little bit of time to catch up with what's going on in the in the spot market. They flow through eventually, but we're seeing wide gaps. So that would be really interesting to see how long this holds. The US don't have the shipping issues to get product out, but that's the internal market balance is really important in the US, and when they start looking for exports to help them out.
Sure.
And again, New Zealand top of the ladder here in terms of forward prices. They're just spot prices extended in Europe, but they're still a little bit below where we are, and CME still with a bit of a carry, but well below what we're seeing in Oceania.
Sure.
And that fat discount for AMF getting larger, getting down towards where it's been at its highest. It's gone towards 1,600 now, so that's quickly plunged, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
So chart of the week, Joe, what have you got?
Yeah, well, as you said earlier, Steve, the US product information that we got out just this week, it's got the December month up to December, and then there we've got the last 3 months and the last 6 months. And what really stands out, Steve, is how skim milk and non-fat dry milk production has plummeted, and that's a combination of factors. We were talking about the milk out of the US having a little bit higher fat content, and some of that skim solids being used to standardise cheese rather than being dried. But it really does stand out there, Steve, and underlines the fact why on GDT skim milk powder had a pretty good showing, is that there's not much product out of the US available in terms of skim and non-fat, and European product is going to get a lot harder to source. So if you want skim, you've got to go to GDT.
Yeah, that's right.
Some other issues there, Steve. Cheese, again, that's been the priority for production.
Yeah, cheese is still the priority, and this doesn't, regional level, the central region is still growing output at a healthy clip. We have seen mozzarella come back into some growth. It's been in reduction. So total cheese is up. And it's surprising, the regional issue you talked about, we have seen a little bit of milk migrate towards, from cheese to other uses, but nothing that shows up here because class 4 price, returns are far stronger, and that gap is very wide. So there is a little bit of movement anecdotally that we're hearing about, but not too much. There's still, we're still facing really a situation of overproduction of cheese in some regions, which is still keeping that market volatile.
Absolutely. Interesting stuff.
Okay. That's all from us. We'll be back next week with another installment. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.